What's up guys, I'm Achilles and I wanted to discuss a theory regarding the story for Marvel Spider-Man 2. I'll be going over how I think the first act will play out, and of course, this will have a lot to do with the main antagonist of the game.
Will one of you finally give me what I desire? Yes, we will.
My theory is that the game will open with Dr. Carnage telling Norman Osborn that he needs the DNA of the original genetically engineered spider that Oscorp developed in order to cure Harry. Norman notes all of those spiders were destroyed after failed experiments to create super soldiers, so that is impossible. But later realizing Spider-Man has the same traits as the intended result to make those super soldiers. Norman desperately calls the most renowned hunter in the world, Kraven the Hunter. Norman asks, "How much do you want?" Kraven replies with, "I do not want your money, only a challenge." Norman says this is the greatest challenge of them all. Kraven agrees to hunt Spider-Man. I think this part will play out as the opening cinematic of the game. Switching to Peter's point of view, the opening fight will be Peter and Miles trying to apprehend Mysterio. Mysterio is trying to steal tech from Sable International. This fight will have the player control Peter but have Miles as a AI companion. Peter and Miles are now able to coordinate takedowns and moves, and eventually take down and stop Mysterio. Peter stays and webs up Mysterio, telling Miles he can handle it and he can go home. Miles swings back home, but before he can go home, his web gets cut off by a thrown blade. Miles falls and sees a mysterious figure, announcing himself as Kraven the Hunter, and stating Miles is his prey. This will be a fight Miles draws with Kraven, as Kraven has studied Miles at recent encounters and has equipment to shut down his venom. Miles escapes and calls Peter about it. We switch back to Peter's point of view, and he starts to investigate the scene where Miles and Kraven fought. Peter finds the blade that cut off Miles' web. He analyzes it and realizes it was specifically made to cut off the web. Peter is ambushed by Kraven, but this time, Peter will win the fight and subdue Kraven. Peter later asks who hired him, and Kraven eventually says Norman Osborn. Cutting back to the lab, Dr. Carnage checks the tube Harry was being held in. Finding out the tube has been shattered and the lab destroyed, Carnage thought about the many experimental tests he conducted on Harry, and is frightened what he has unleashed on the city. Having been broke out of the lab and hearing Norman obsessing over Spider-Man, Venom hunts down the web slinger. Peter in confusion, wondering why Norman wants Spider-Man. Peter is then attacked by Venom. This will be a boss fight that Peter loses because Venom can get around Peter's spider sense. He is also much faster and stronger than him. After Peter loses the fight, he escapes and flees to MJ's apartment, barely alive. MJ later finds Peter resting on the couch. She calls Miles for help, and he finds his mentor on the brink of death. MJ stays with Peter, tending to his wounds. This is where we, the player, plays as Miles for a bit. Trying to figure out what happened, Miles investigates the area where Peter was attacked. Peter a day later gets back on his feet and notices while using his taser web during his confrontation with Venom, it weakened him. Peter figures out Venom is weak to electricity. He calls Miles and forges a plan to take down Venom. Mentioning to Miles his bioelectricity is the key to beating him. Peter and Miles finds Venom on the news, destroying Oscorp headquarters. The duo tracks him down there, meeting Venom face to face at the facility. This will be a duo boss fight, where the player can switch to both characters. Miles electrifies Venom, while Peter does the final blow. Peter also gets some symbiote on his suit without him knowing. After the symbiote starts deforming, it reveals a face. Peter sees a familiar figure, his old friend, Harry Osborn. This is how I think the first act will play out in Marvel's Spider-Man 2.